Welcome everybody. My name is Chris and I'm very excited that you are able to attend our Docketwise webinar today on billing and trust accounting. In this webinar, we will be covering the following key concepts of invoicing and trust accounting, which are setting up the bank accounts, default invoice settings, basics of bills and trust requests, dispersing funds from a trust account, creating time entries which can later be billed, features included in our integration with LawPay, billing for a case from start to finish with flat rates or flat fees, and billing from start to finish for a case that is billed by a retainer and then billed for by time and expenses. So let's first jump into starting this with setting up the bank accounts. First, we're going to go, of course, from our dashboard. In the black bar on the left-hand side, we will click Settings, and then we will go to Bank Accounts. Now, I already have some bank accounts set up on this account, but just for the purpose of this demonstration, I will create a new operating account as well as a new trust account. So first, I'll start out with the operating account. I'll just name it Attorney Business Checking Account, we'll say. And let's say it's with Wells Fargo, just hypothetically. And let's give it a starting balance. Let's say I just checked my balance and it is currently at, let's say 11,205. Then we will just go ahead and save our account. It's that simple. We have our operating account now saved. And we're going to go ahead and create a new trust account as well. So just again, we'll go back to settings, click on bank accounts, and then click on the new bank account button. And then we'll choose trust this time. So this time we will put in the name of our trust account. Let's say just Untitled Trust. And we will say this is also just hypothetically with Wells Fargo. So now we have our two new bank accounts set up. We can go back in and see those here. So this is our Untitled Trust. If we want to see the overview of our Untitled Trust bank account in Docketwise and all transactions through Docketwise, we would go back to settings, bank accounts, and then click on the name of the account. So Untitled Trust, we have no transactions, of course. So it's just still at a $0 balance. And then the same thing goes for the operating account that we had just made right here. And we can see that just has a starting balance of 11,205. And next, we will go to basically setting up your default invoice settings, which can be done under settings in the same location you had found it before. And then we would click on the option for invoice settings. Here we have a bunch of settings that we can do to change basically the experience, change the layout and everything of invoices within Docketwise. So our first option here, automatically send clients a receipt when a payment is made via LawPay. So this, we already have our LawPay integration set up on this account. I will go ahead and enable this just because I would like my clients to be notified of the receipt of their payment when they are doing so. So I'll enable that. We have the option to include our firm logo. I will include that on my invoice as well, which will appear in the top left corner. And then also, let's say I want an invoice footer. So you make that your custom message of your firm, whatever you feel would be fitting to include in that section. For me, I'll just say, thank you for choosing us to help you reach your American dream. And then also, finally, we have an option to send invoice reminders. Now, how this works is the client will receive either via text or email, however you had sent the invoice to them. They will receive reminders until the outstanding balance of that invoice reaches 0. So we can set the frequency of days in which reminders will be set. Let's just say we want to be reminding our clients every 3 days, just to be getting messages until the balance reaches 0. And then we can also choose our color scheme here. I'll choose one to match my logo, so I'll choose a blue. And then also we can select a default prepare for invoice settings. This would just automatically choose a member of your firm to appear as the preparer on invoices if that is what you would like. For this, I will not be doing that. So just whoever prepares the invoice, it will choose them as the preparer, but can be changed when preparing an invoice as well. So I'll go ahead and save these changes here. And then we can proceed to the next step. So what we're going to do now is basically just go over, roughly speaking, invoices in Docketwise. So we can just do that by going back to the dashboard. For this, I'll be creating a new client. I'll name him Patrick Patel. And then let's say we'll create a matter for him as well. So I can just name this naturalization. And then I'll put his name in there too. Description is optional. Let's just put in based on 5 years of LPR status. And then also these options down here are optional, and I will be just skipping over them for now. So I create the matter, and then now I can actually create the invoice for Mr. Patel. So we do create new, go down to invoice. And then here we are taken to the page basically to set up some preliminary specifications for our invoice. As I had mentioned before, you can select the prepare. If I had selected a default prepare, it would automatically choose that firm member here, which I had mentioned could be changed. So I will keep it assigned to myself as the preparer. And then also here I can change who the client assigned or who this invoice is for which client. Here we have 2 types of invoices. Bill, essentially how you can think of a bill is an invoice in order to get funds into your operating accounts. And then we have trust request. And the other way you can think of this is just basically to get funds into your trust account. We'll be going over more details, basically more nuances in this later, and basically how to have the invoices in Docketwise work how you would like them to. So we'll just start with a bill here. We're going to have funds go into our operating account, and then we'll choose Mr. Patel's matter right here. And then we would just click create invoice. And let's say we're going to start out with just putting in some charges. So you see here, this is the invoice. As I mentioned, the logo's here. We have invoice settings and also invoice charges. So I'll click on the invoice charges tab and just add some charges in for Mr. Patel. I'll be doing just flat rate, just for attorney's fees and ordinary costs. So let's just say we're going to add in, let's say, attorney's fees for let's say for $2,700. As you can see, as I type this in, my invoice on the left-hand side is updating in real time. So I'll add an expense, let's just say ordinary costs. And we will say that's $200. So we now have this. Both expenses and services are appearing here with the total. And also, these are some other ones that are appearing, as I had mentioned before. We have the frequency of reminders, which can be toggled in these settings. But we also have the option to specify if we want to change from our default settings. Also the footer here, we can change this, we can turn it off, and also the logo. And then right here, we have the option to provide discounts, whether it's a percentage discount or whether a dollar amount discount. Also, we can change the date issued, the due date of this invoice, and we can also change the invoice number. We'll keep this as 1. And then here, finally, we have the payment plan option, which I will get into later when I touch on the features available with our LawPay integration. And now I will bring you back to this side of the screen. We have right here basically the option to share. If I do print, it will download a PDF file of this invoice as it appears in this moment. If I do send, I can send it either via email to my client or via text message. And now we also have the option to record a payment for this. So we'll click on the record payment button, and then we will choose our destination account. We'll have this be going into the account we just set up today, attorney business checking account. And we will stick with a direct payment, but we also have options for a trust transfer, which will take funds from our trust account and then transfer those into our operating account to pay the bill. Let's say if we were billing on a retainer and we had those funds in our trust account and wanted to bill the client after work has been finished. And then also credit card, which I will touch on a little bit more when I'm going over the LawPay integration. But for now, like I said, we will just be choosing direct payment. And let's say the payment date was also today in the full amount. And I can leave a description here if I would like. I will just say paid in full in cash. There we go. And then I will just save the payment. And then as you can see, this invoice will be updated and the outstanding balance is reflecting as 0, as well as the payment reflecting as a debited amount on the invoice. Also, we'll go back to Mr. Patel's matter here, just so I can show just a little bit more about trust accounting on that side. So we have the same options here, but instead we will choose a trust request. And let's just say we want to bill the client for a retainer, so we'll just say $3,000 just for example's sake. And then we have to choose here whether we would like these trust funds saved at the client level or the matter level. That is completely up to you and basically your firm's policies. So I will click client and I will save my trust. I will save my trust funds at the client level and I'll create the invoice. One thing to note is that after a trust request has been created, the invoice amount cannot be changed, and you would either want to delete the invoice before recording a payment or making an additional invoice for the difference. So we have here we'll say a hypothetical retainer for $3,000. We can add in a description here as well. Trust request for naturalization matter. And we can also just include our default footer. Here, I don't think I need to make any changes. So I can go in and record a payment for that. I will choose my IOLTA trust account, and we will also do paid in full. So I'll just go ahead and proceed to save this. And then also, I will just show generally what would be done on a flat rate case using the trust account. Say we had billed them for our attorney's fees and ordinary costs already, and it's time to file. In order to create a trust request for the filing fees, if that will be paid through the attorney's account, through the attorney's trust account, we will of course go in here and choose trust request and put in the amount. So we're saying it was a naturalization case. We will have the filing biometric fees for $725. And let's just say that specifically at the matter level, and we'll choose his matter at which to save it. Create this invoice. And here I can just put in the description and 400 filing and biometric fees. No changes need to be made here, and I can just go ahead and record a payment. Direct payment, we'll say this time again, going to the IOLTA trust account, and I will just say paid in full for and 400 filing and biometric, and save my payment. Now, of course, we will want to see how to disperse those. We will want to see how to disperse those funds from the matter's trust account. So we have the client here, the matter there. We will have to navigate to the matter, but I will just show here the example retainer we had will reflect under the client. So we can see that there's a current balance in the client trust level of $3,000. Now, if we navigate to this client's matter for naturalization, we will also go into the Trust Account tab, and we'll see the $725 reflected here as a balance in the Matters Trust account. So here, in order to disperse these funds, we'll click right here on the Dispersed Funds for the account in which the money is, and we will do Disperse Funds. We will indicate the date. Let's say it was dispersed today. We had written a check for USCIS on June 3rd, and the amount is $725. And we will just add in the note here, and 400 filing and biometrics fees. And then we will save the payment. So as we can see here, this trust amount has been dispersed from the account. Next, we will go on to creating time entries. So in order to do this, you will have to use this time tracking widget. You can click on it to begin tracking time. And then in order to stop tracking time, you would just click it again. When you click it again, you will have the option to edit your entry. You can change time, description, private note, client matter, firm member, as well as hourly rate. Now, the other way to create a time entry would be to click on the three dots on the time widget and choose the option to create a new time entry. Let's say we had done the work, we wrote it down in Excel or on paper, we hadn't done it in Docketwise mistakenly, and we just want to put in those time entries here. So we'll choose new time entry. Or before I do so, let me create a contact for this. So let's name her Sarah Smith. And we'll create a new contact. And we'll also create a new matter for her. Let's say she's doing an adjustment of status. And we can give it a description. Okay, so we'll just say the description AOS one step, Sarah is USC sponsoring husband. And we can just skip through this. This is all optional. And then we'll click create matter. So now we have the matter made for Ms. Smith, and we'll go ahead and create new time entries here. Let's say we want to choose our hourly rate. We'll choose 500. And then we can just start putting in our time entries. So we see here, in order to enter this, we could do 60M, and it would know 60 minutes. We could do 55M, 55 minutes, or we could do 1.0 hours or 1 hour. Okay, so we have this set up right here, and we will save the entry. And also, if we want to be making multiple entries, let's say we would click this, create another, and then automatically it would save that information in doing so. And also, to get back to create or to view all time entries, we would go to view time entries. And we would be able to see this information here where we could go and update the information. So we'll put in the $500 hourly rate, and we'll save that entry. So let's go to create basically the rest of her case. And let's say for here, we'll do phone correspondence. And it was 0.3 hours. Here we'll select Sarah again. And we will put it to her matter for AOS one step. And we'll click this option for create another entry, and you will see all of this information here will be saved. And now I can just create her next time entry, 1.6 hours. We'll go 1.6 hours. Actually, no, 1.3 hours for this one. We'll say we reviewed the forms, and that was 1.4 hours in work. Save our entry. Email correspondence. Let's say this took 0.4 hours. Save this entry. Say phone correspondence, which took 0.3 hours. Package preparation, we will say took an hour and a half. We'll say phone correspondence again. And this took 0.4 hours. And finally, we will have 2 more entries to put in. We'll say that the clients came in to sign the forms and discuss case strategy, which took, let's say, 1.3 hours. And finally, we can put in travel as well. Let's say the travel took 0.6 hours. So I'll save this entry as well. Perfect. Now once I X out of here and refresh, we will have all of those appearing here. Awesome. Now let's go over our integration with LawPay. So actually, in order to get this set up, you would want to go back to Settings, click on Integrations, and then find LawPay and activate that. So what is available with LawPay? There are 3 things actually. And these 3 things all coincide with LawPay and your ability to bill clients via their credit card. So we have one option, which is to pay for a client's invoice if you have a credit card on file for that client. Another one would be to share the invoice to either their email or via the client portal. Doing so would give them the option to download the invoice and also an option to pay for that invoice via credit card. Finally, we have the option to record or set up our clients with a payment plan as well. So I'll be going over these just real briefly to get a feel of how this functions. So let's create a new contact for this. We'll call him Oliver Jones. And we'll create a new contact. Let's create a matter as well. Let's say he's filing an I-539 for B2 extension. And we'll just create that matter. I-539 extension. And we will go ahead and just create the matter here. Now let's give him an email as well so he can receive the email as well as the invitation for the client portal. So let's just say a hypothetical email. First, I will set up the client portal. In order to do so, I will just go to the portal tab, allow portal access, and submit. From here, I'll also create an invoice. Let's say that we'll create an invoice just for the filing fees. We'll say that he has already paid his attorney's fees and is just ready to file. So we'll choose trust request. The amount here, I suppose, will be $455 for filing fees plus biometrics. And we'll keep that at the client level. So we'll create the invoice. And then now here, we're not going to change anything. We're just going to share it with the client. So we will click send right here. And this will send it to our client's email. Also, if I go back to the client, I can find his invoice and share that to his client portal as well. To do that, I will go to Invoices and click these 3 dots right here and choose the option to share to portal. So here, I would just choose my client and his email address and submit. So I've sent out the invitation for the invoice via email, and also I've sent it to his client portal. And I'll just show you how that appears on the client side. So here we have the option right here. We'll choose Oliver Jones to pay this invoice that was sent to us online. So they would see this email. They would have the option to download it and the option to pay online. And the option that appears to pay online would look like this. They would enter in their cardholder name, credit card number, CVV code, and all the other information as well. Now, if we go back here, we could see how this would look on the client portal. We'll set up the portal account for the client right now. Let's just choose any password. And create the account. So here we are in the client's portal as the client, and we have the option here as well to download the invoice PDF as well as pay it. When we click here, we will get the same payment screen as we had seen before. So let's just say hypothetically we'll use just a dummy card to pay this as the client. So let's just say Oliver Jones, credit card number. We'll fill out this. And let's say the expiration date. Fill out this out too. And finally the zip code. And submit payment. All right, so this is the message they get after submitting the payment right here. And we can X out of that. And finally, we will go back here. And we have the receipt from Docketwise that was issued to the client, myself, for the payment. So we see here, hi Oliver Jones, thank you for your payment of $455. This is your receipt. And we have the amount paid, also the remaining balance, as well as the preparer of the invoice. So now we'll get back to this so we can just show some more options that are included with the LawPay integration. Here, let's say we'll create another invoice. Let's say this is for another client. So we'll create a new client for this. We'll say it's for a removal of conditions. So we have our client and we'll create our matter for removal of conditions. And we will create this matter. So let's say we will create an invoice for this new matter as well. Create new invoice. And we'll just create, let's say, we'll do a bill. So this will go to this, and we'll do just a flat rate for attorney's fees and a flat rate for attorney's fees as well as for expenses. And we'll add the charge for expenses. Let's say 250. Now we will go back to invoice settings and we will set up this client with a payment plan. So here we'll click the slider bar to activate a payment plan. And we will put in the information here as well. So because I had not yet entered an email address for the contact, I will have to do so here. I would make it deposited to a certain account here. Choose this one. And the installment amount, let's say we'll have him pay $300, which will be paid starting tomorrow. And it will be done, let's say, once per month. So we'll put in the information for the client that he had provided for us, we'll say. Credit card, we'll put in just the number for the dummy card again. And address again. And finally, once we have all the information filled out, we will click on Create Payment Plan. And we will have the first payment tomorrow, and then once a month after that, until the entire outstanding balance has been paid. So we'll go back to the matter, and let's say we're at the point where we need to ask for the filing fees in order to file the petition. So we'll create a new invoice again. And then we will do this right here. So let's say this will be $680, I believe. So we'll do a trust request for $680. And let's keep it at the client level. And let's say that since we were provided the credit card information and the client wants us just to record the payment with that same credit card, we can actually do so. So we would go back just to record payments after having the trust request set up in order to obtain these funds for the trust account to file the application. So we'll do record payment, and instead of doing direct payment this time, we will choose credit card. Here we'll choose, let's say, Bob's trust account, or actually this time we'll do iUltimate, paid in full for I-751 filing and biometrics fees. And then we will just go to billing details, where we would enter the name of that. My mistake, actually, I need to choose a trust account that is synced with the LawPay integration. So I will choose this one, which is actually the one that is set up with the LawPay integration. So here we would just have the option to put in the credit card on file. So I'll just put in the same information as before. And we would click Submit Payment. So here there's actually an error in the email address, and we would click Submit Payment after that information has been filled out correctly. All right, so that basically does it for the LawPay features that are included with the integration. And we will go over now from start to finish for a case that is billed based on just flat fees, flat rates. So we'll create a new client for this, let's say. We'll create a new client and a new matter as well. So create a new contact, and we will also create a new matter as well. Let's say this is also removal of conditions. And we'll create the matter. So first, let's say we're going to create an invoice. Let's say we already had the consultation, it was paid for, and we're just going to bill the client for the attorney's fees and ordinary costs. Again, we would do create new invoice, and we would choose bill for this because we want the funds going directly into our operating account. And then here, we'll choose the option for the matter as well, and then we can create the invoice. So let's just say for a flat fee, we're going to do, again, attorney's fees. And we're going to do the amount of $27.50. And then let's say we add in ordinary expenses for the amount of $250. And finally, actually, let's say we add a percentage discount. We can put a description or a title to that description, to that discount, sorry. So I'll just say early signing of contract. And we'll say it's in the amount of 10%. So we can see that also reflect in lifetime right here, and it updates the outstanding balance to $2,700. Let's say we also want to change the reminders on this. We don't want them going out as frequently for the specific client. We'll change that to 5. And we will have the due date just set out a little further as well. So we'll set that to the 17th of June. Okay, so now we'll go to record payment here. And let's just say we're choosing a direct payment for this particular method. For this particular example, we'll choose this operating account this time, operating test LawPay account. And we will just have it paid in full, let's say. Now, of course, let's say we aren't doing the G1450 with this particular client. We're just going to have him give us the trust funds for us to be able to write a check on his behalf to USCIS to file his petition. So we'll do create new invoice again. Of course, we'll choose trust request, and the amount will be $680. And we'll put this at, let's say, the client level, and we'll create invoice. So we have this all created, and let's say we record a payment here, and we would choose the destination account. We'll do this one again. And let's say it was just paid in full. And we will save the payment. So now we have the filing fees in, and again, it has come time to write the check with our package that we were sending out to USCIS. So we'll go back to the client since we had saved the trust funds at the contact level. So we'll go to the contact overview page and click trust account. Here we can see the 680 value reflecting. And let's say we wrote the check today, and we're going to just date this disbursement as the same day that we are writing the check. Say it was 680 for the I-751 filing and biometrics fees. And we'll save the payment. So this is basically how we would do the simplest way of just doing basically a fixed rate or fixed fees for billing. Now we will get into basically doing a start to finish retainer payment that comes into our trust request, and then after we complete work, we will bill the client to have those funds taken out of our trust account and moved into our operating account. So we'll create a new invoice, new invoice. And we'll make this invoice for, let's say, Sarah Smith. So since this is a retainer and we want those funds to go directly into our trust account, not our operating account, we will do the option for invoice type as trust request. For the amount, let's say we'll do $6,400, and we'll put that at the client level, and then we'll create the invoice. And then we can put in some more information onto the invoice. Let's say right here, we're going to put in basically just some estimated costs. So 4,500 estimated legal fees, 8.5 hours at $500 per hour, $140 of estimated expenses. We'll put in $1,225 for I-485 and I-130 filing fees. Oh, that's my error. And then, sorry, we will put in $535 for the I-130 filing fees. So we have this right here, the description of the estimated legal fees, basically estimated expenses, and also the filing fees that are included with these applications, let's say. So we'll go ahead, let's say we record a payment, and we'll just do a direct payment for this, and we'll put it into the Untitled Trust account. So we'll just say it was paid in full. And we'll save the payment. So now we have those funds for Sarah sitting in her contact level trust account. So we can see here all $6,400. That's reflected right there. Now let's assume we've completed work and we have our time entries ready to go. We'll create a new invoice and make that a bill. So we'll have it assigned to Sarah Smith, her matter for AOS 1 step, and we'll create an invoice. Here we have the options to go to Invoice Charges, and then we can import all of our time entries. So let's go ahead and do that first. So you see all invoices, or sorry, all time entries that are related to this client and this matter are showing up here. So we'll go ahead and click each box to include each of these that we have done. And then these will also show up in the invoice. So I'm going to click Import Time Entries after creating this. And we can see all of those are now showing up on our invoice. Let's say we had some expenses incurred here too. So we'll add another charge. Yeah, let's say it was 312 pages printed at 15 cents per page. And then we'll put in the amount. Let's say that the total would be $62.40 for that. And let's say that for FedEx, specifically, it was an expense of, let's say, $87.60. Okay, so now we have everything included in our invoice, and we can see that the total is $1,372. So now, before we record a payment, let's actually disperse the funds for the filing fees. So we'll go back to the contact. Our invoice is now saved. We'll go to the contact and go to the trust account tab. Here we'll disperse the fees. So let's just say we disperse right here, payment today, and we'll do $12.25 for the I-45 filing fees. I-45 filing and biometrics fees. And we'll record that payment. Let's say we're also going to record the disbursement of the I-130 filing fees. We'll say that was today as well. And that would be $535. And we'll save that payment as well. And we'll go back to the trust account tab for this client, and we can see that remaining, we have $4,640. And we'll go back to that invoice that we just created to bill the client. All right, so we have here, just double check something. Yes, there was definitely an error with the expense amount I had put for FedEx. The decimal point should be right here. I'm going to fix that real quickly. And there we go. So we have the new balance here. Our hours spent on this case actually did exceed what was estimated or what was expected. So first, we will do a trust transfer in order to pay this invoice with trust fees or trust funds, sorry, that have been received previously. So we'll go to record payment. And for this, we'll choose trust transfer. So here we have the option, of course, for client trust or matter trust. We had saved it at the client level. So we'll do this right here. We see the amount remaining, $4,640, and then we'll choose the destination account. Let's say that is going to the attorney business checking account, and we'll do the amount of today. So we don't have this much available to do with this. We have 4640 still available. So we'll change that. And we will record this payment after putting in the description. Now we'll save this payment. And we can see that the outstanding balance is $560. So we have no more funds left in our trust account. What we can do now is we can share this with the contact. We could send it to them for them to pay it, or we could record a payment directly with the credit card information provided, or with a direct payment. Let's say they paid the remaining in cash. We'll put in the destination account as the same one, payment date as of today, and $560 for the payment amount. So we'll just choose this, paid in cash for the description. And there we have it. The outstanding balance for this client who started with the retainer is now at 0. We have moved those funds from their trust account into our operating account, dispersed their filing fees for USCIS to receive them, as well as completed all of the time for their case. So that does it for our webinar today.